Alright, hello everybody. This is the 8th lesson of learning JavaScript. Today we're going to go over something that's really important when writing functions and putting them in code and whatnot. It's local and global values. So alright, let's create a function. Let's say var draw circle equals function. And there we go. And then let's put another one down here, like this, and then a semicolon to fix it, to end it. Alright, so let's create some variables for that. Let's say var x equals 20, and then var y equals 30, and then I forgot the semicolons, and semicolon. And then, alright, so now that we have that, let's draw a circle. So let's do it. So draws. Okay, so we have a circle right here. Circle. No, I mean ellipse. And parentheses, semicolon. And then let's say x, y, 150 and 150. Alright, so now let's call that function again. So you have draw circle. And there you go. You have a circle. Let me move that. Alright, so there you go. You have a circle. So now, let's say you want to draw a circle, but a different height and whatnot. So let's say ellipse, parentheses, semicolon, and then let's say x, y, and then let's say 200 and 150, because you don't want to have to do that again. Well, alright. I wonder why it says this. It says x is not defined. Make sure you're spelling it correctly and that you declared it. So what we're really dealing with is this, because obviously we spelled it correctly. I mean, you can't really misspell x and whatnot. So the problem is that because variable x and variable y are both inside of this function, they're called local variables. So local variables are basically variables that are inside a function. So you'll have var, and then you have whatever dot 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 equals the function, and then all that information, you have those variables, and they're only going to be called because they're outside of that. And that really goes into, remember when we was doing the animation video, the animation lesson, and we were talking about how you need to take the original variable outside of the function. That makes it a global variable. So let's fix this. So we have these two. Let's take them out of here. Copy. And let's delete that. And then there you go. Now it came up, and the reason why is because the minute they're outside of the global function, the minute they're outside of this function, they're called global variables, which means basically they apply to every single thing that goes on in here, unless you change them in the function. Like you have, let's say, x equals x plus 1, and then semicolon, and then you have that and whatnot. So another thing is that there's also a different way to write this. So let's say you have, let's create this function right here. So we have that, and then let's make it that. Tab out of here. Right here. So you have our variables, and we have the draw circle function. So we have ellipse x and y, x equals x plus 1. So then if we call that, alright, so we have that. And let's make it move faster. So ellipse is x plus 1. Not moving right now. Well, basically, whenever you want to write, when you want to make an animation, and you're trying to write x equals x plus 1 semicolon, there's an easier way to write it because, programmers were lazy and we don't like having to write stuff over and over and over again. So instead of having to write x equals x plus 1, what you would actually write is x plus equals 1. And so what that is saying is x equals x plus 1. And the same thing applies for all other things. So let's say you're trying to do let's say you want to do x is moving backwards. So you have x and y. Let's call which function. Alright, so let's say you want to make it less than that. You would just make x minus equals 1, and that will make it move backwards. So whenever, and then you would add a semicolon. So whenever you're creating any program, you always have to remember the difference between local and global variables. Local variables will typically be inside of functions, and thus if you try and call them outside of a function, it's not going to recognize it because it only saw what was inside that function or that command that you stated. And global functions will typically apply for everything because they're outside of a function. So even if even if you call that variable inside of a function, it will still come up. And that's the end of lesson 8.